Dragon Age Inquisition, the third installment in Bioware's Dragon Age series. Hey guys, I'm Rourke of Cherno. Welcome to another video. Today I thought we'd talk about Dragon Age Inquisition. So this game's going to be pretty exciting, guys. I played the first one, liked it, did not love it. Now why didn't I love it? It wasn't as big as it should have been. The combat wasn't as epic as it should have been. There was so much more it could have been, but BioWare is promising this Dragon Age to be the biggest and best one yet. So let's talk about why it should be worth it to look at. So, Dragon Age Inquisition is supposed to be the biggest Dragon Age yet. We don't have a fully open sandbox world, but we have very large zones. So the zones in Dragon Age Origins were very small, they were very direct, they were very limited. In this one, while you watch through this video trailer, notice this is all one zone. It's massive, with plenty of people to talk to, with very pretty environments, and plenty going on. So there are smaller quests inside of the zones, which is interesting. There's also diversions, other locations you can go to, other small pathways. Further in the video, they'll open up the map and you'll be able to tell and take a look at it. So besides combat, as far as story, in Dragon Age Origins we had a pretty interesting story with the Blight. That's right, with the Blight coming around. So demons were spawning from nowhere. In this game story, we had all of the elders and all of the rulers of anybody important was congregated at one location. And for some unknown reason, a dragon came and burned them all up. So now they're all dead, and the world has no leaders. There's dragons flying around, burning and taking and killing people, and nobody's doing anything about it. So we, whoever we are, which I hope they explain, we have to come about and make order, be a leader, bring people together to deal with the dragons, to deal with this problem that's come up. Now this isn't really an original idea, of course, but it's still a fun idea. We like dragons, they're fun, they make fun bosses, they make for a very clear story. Beat the dragons, keep problems, from being any worse than they already are. We saw from a trailer that Morgan is back, which will be interesting, because they say that she'll definitely be in the game more and take on more of a personal role, so we'll get to see where she went and what all went with her. If you haven't played Dragon Age Origins, I don't think you'll have to, because, it's an okay game. It's like a B game. It's fun, but it's not necessarily, where you want to drop in $60. So besides story, we've also got the combat, which was, I think, the major problem for the last two games. The second game, of course, picked it up, and it was a lot better in the combat, but not quite as much as it should have been. So in the combat, you're going to see that it's still real-time. You can still play tactically or action-rolled, which is, whichever one you prefer, which will be fun. You can still switch in between any character in your party of 4 between the two of you at any time that you want, and it has a lot more weight to it, you'll see. When we shoot with our magic, or when we swing with our big broad axe, it'll actually feel like we're in control of it. The mechanics look, I haven't played it, obviously, right? But the mechanics look much more crisp. Not like you're pushing a button and then the animation happens. It looks like you're in control of it. We have a little hotkey down on the bottom right of the screen, and those are our skills for our sorceress that we're playing as right now. But I really like them because it has kind of a Kingdoms of Amular approach, but hopefully with more tactical variety, with having 4 people at a time and given through bosses or different instances. But it gives you a lot of fun, and it puts you right in control of a bunch of very cool, upgradable skills. Now, speaking of skills, I've briefly seen what they showed off for each character to evolve and, to have more fun, badass things to do. But it looks pretty limited. The skill tree looks rather small, so I'm hoping with the diversity of having multiple different people with you at one time, that'll help mix it up, because the tree only looks like it had 2 branches with 5 skills on either side, which could still be very fun. It could be great. Maybe you can mix and match them, but I don't know yet. I don't know how severe or how awesome each skill is, or how the progression is dynamic after each one. It could be. But again, as far as combat, you can tell the weight. Even as an archer, when you're moving around, you're picking off people, you're staying at a distance, you're flipping back, you're jumping between your different characters. I think the combat, they really stepped it up, and that's what's going to really help Dragon Age Inquisition be one of the next big games. It'll be a lot of fun to play, and that's what we enjoy, right? If it's fun, then you're going to play it. So, before I talk about things I'm worried about, let's talk about some more things that are going to make the game really good. So, they talked about there's going to be more armor, weapons, and crafting than any other game they've had so far in the Dragon Age series, which is great, because they didn't have too much crafting in either of them, and there really weren't very many weapons or armor I thought of. But that's great, because they're saying it'll happen much more often. There'll be many more. I love that feeling of maybe you don't level up, maybe you don't get that new skill, but you just beat that huge dragon, and you got the new ice staff from it that gives you an enhancement here, and you can feel the power behind it. And when you get new, better loot, that serves as leveling up. That keeps our attention. That's your desire to move forward and still do and fight. So besides weapons and crafting, it looks like we have a pretty clean HUD, which is very nice. You know, I don't like HUDs taking away from our gameplay. We want to see everything, we don't want to be distracted by it. The environment looks pretty, and it looks much more balanced in how open it is, because you'll see when they bring up the map that it still feels pretty linear, but you know, there's plenty of trees and rocks, and you know, it feels much more like a real world than just like you're thrown into a video game. It looks much better made, much more time meticulated into what's there, the ferns and the walls of the monastery and the flags blowing in the breeze. It looks real. I like the world, how it's opened up and how it's portrayed to us so far. So some of the worries I'd like to talk about is in the first and even second. I know they stepped it up in the second, but balancing of combat, since you aren't in complete control of your actions. You hit the button and you know you still have much more weight to it, but you're not in complete control like you would in Kingdoms of Amular or even, you know, Dark Souls, one of my favorite games personally. So difficulty spikes are something they're going to have to control, you know. It's something we have to be careful about as gamers, and you know, I mean, that's what Dragon Age Origins messed up so badly, I think. There were 5 zones, and you pop to one zone in the wrong time, and you feel like you can't do anything. There's no strategy, just because if it's a numbers game, then it only matters so much. You can only do so many creative mixtures and be as smart as possible, but if the numbers are messed up on a big boss, then he'll stomp his foot, and you'll all fall down and die, and that's just fucking annoying. It's not fun, it's not okay, it is not a fun game if they put in numbers that way. So I think they're leaning more towards mechanics for us to control, to get away from the numbers, which I'm really happy with, because if you give us more to play with, more variety, then that means the gamer makes the game. If we decide how things are done, then that's good for us and them. Then if you're a good gamer, then you can figure things out. Then you have more opportunity to change the environment, to change how things happen, to change the gameplay. And I think that's great. So what else am I worried about? Repetitive enemies. I kind of thought in Dragon Age Origins there were plenty of repetitive enemies, and if they don't balance it right, you know, if the combat isn't as fun, you're just going to be hacking through the same person, the same goblin with the same frost magic big bash spell, and after a couple hours it's going to be boring. So I hope it's balanced. I hope there's more creativity in it, and we have dragons, so that'll definitely be fun. And that's, you know, I'm just worried because I've done that before, and I want them to step it up. I want this to be a really fun, good game, and it can be, but we have to be careful of that, guys. They also mentioned we're going to have decision-making in the game, and I'm excited for that, but if they say they're going to have clear decisions that really implement the game, they better do it. We can't get excited about it just for you to say, oh, let's build this tower here instead of this tower. Like, they can tell you things are changing, but if it doesn't really change, then who cares, right? We have to go. Now that we've talked about the story, the size, and a bit of the combat, let's look at the biggest part of an RPG game. Let's look at the boss battle. So we know we're going to be fighting dragons, and we know that we want them to be badass. We want it to be that moment when you played in Skyrim and the dragon came down and incinerated you and you're just awestruck. It was fantastic. And eventually they became a lot easier and not nearly as cool. But this dragon is a high dragon. He looks really cool. We're going to be fighting his babies around while being pelted by fireballs. And it looks dynamic. It looks fun. We're not going to walk up and bash him in the face with a shield, and that's pretty much that. We're going to be tactical about it, move around, put on energy shields, have to dynamically heal. He'll use different attacks, a variety of things. I'm really excited for this because just from this gameplay, it looks like quality. You know, we have a big environment we can actually move through. We're being attacked by it. We have to move forward, move around. It's not a cinematic. It's not set up, which means it's not just based on numbers. You know, games that always make it about numbers will show you the cinematic where the enemy walks up and then you're in the room and then go fight. But that's not how it is. We just walked into the zone and this happens, which really helps encourage me for their dynamic world that they've been talking about so much. So we'll see the fight in just a sec. Oh, quick thing I want to talk about. They said it's 4-player co-op. You cannot play the story with your friends. The 4-player co-op is very much so like Mass Effect 3. Where you play in a separate combatants, shoot the guys, wave after wave kind of dealio, and then you can level up through that, but it doesn't mesh into the story. You don't get XP, you don't keep your items, nothing, it's just for fun. So it can be fun, but I don't know if it's online or couch co-op. Couch co-op would be fantastic, but let's go back to this dragon, because he looks so freaking cool. You know, he moves around, we've got a big cool built-up fire breath. And one thing you're going to notice really quickly is that we don't have toenail damage. You know, each limb has health in and of itself. So you can't just pick at the back of his tail and he'll fall down and die eventually. You hack at a leg so that when it crumbles and breaks down, he'll fall onto the ground. We'll hopefully shoot at his wings so that he can't fly as much. It's much more dynamic and we're going to have much more control over the boss battles, which is great, which is absolutely great. And you notice back then, we tried shooting with our mage, and while he was flapping his wings, we couldn't even shoot. Our spells were being knocked to the side. And we can see the health bars for each separate leg, which is fantastic. And that quick switch to our front melee guy, you'll be able to feel the weight of the weapon, which is great. Yeah, so let's step in with that big axe, get a battle cry in, and pow. Yeah, I mean, it looks like you can feel it so much more, and we smacked that leg so the dragon's weakened, and he jumps around, and now he's going to fly away because he's injured. And something you should note in a second, there's a tree that's going to be shot with a fireball, not right now, but in just a second, and it's really funny because the fireball ends up staying there the entire rest of the gameplay. I don't know if the devs noticed this or not, but it's really, really funny. I'll point it out when it happens. But so the dragon flies around, and we have to tactically move and keep shooting at him. But I'm glad that they don't just let him continuously fly in circles and continuously be annoying, because you don't want an annoying boss. You want to be in the combat. If he's going to kill you, then it should be your own fault. It should be your own fault for standing in front of him and being bitch slapped by his gigantic badass claws, or incinerated by his flames if you just charge into his mouth. Speaking of which, I hope they have a bite mechanic that'll just eat one of your guys. That would be really, really cool. That would be really, really cool. God. So I like how quick you can switch between the characters, and we can see their health and energy bars, and the field is dynamic with there's fire still burning on the ground. And now this thing is really cool. We have a new mechanic, and it's called focus. So I think it's like when you play with your team long enough, they develop this focus that you can enact. And this one looks like you can slow time. I don't know if it's always slow time and do what you want, but they said you'll build this up, which is a cool idea, but I'm worried it'll make things too easy because it's like Kingdoms of Amular's Reckoning mode. You you build up this charged attack, and then you use it, and you're super fast, they're slow, and you do bonus damage, and boom, the boss is dead. So hopefully this will be more of a tactical approach. So you use it at difficult moments to help you, not to devastate the dragon. And as you can see, he's crumbled on the ground with his legs tucked in because he got injured. And now he tries to fly away. So hopefully in the real game, when we kill them, we'll be able to get that big burst of XP, get the dragon scales, get this, craft this. It looks, there's a fireball, guys. It'll be on that tree. It's just really funny. And the fire is really pretty, but the game looks really promising. We have a lot we can do. They have a lot they've mentioned will be in the game. There's a lot that can go right. But that's why I'm excited for Dragon Age Inquisition. There's so much that can go right. This can be an A title. This can be a game that everybody enjoys, and that'll be filled with everything that we want. With a big boss, with great combat, with a big story. The story doesn't even have to be that great, but controlling the Inquisition, building up your people, all of it is there. Everything's in the making to be a good game. Now we just have to see if Bioware pulls it out for us. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Rourke of Cherno. Have a great day.